Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever this podcast may find you. It is I, as always, Gavin.
And I, Justin.
And, well, it's funny. The episode today took kind of an interesting route because I just so happened to mention, you know, if someone were to theoretically have a 20-car collection, and you decided to run with it.
Yeah, we weren't expecting to do a 20-car list, but here we go. We actually did it. We ended up with a lot of interesting shit on both of our ends.
Yeah, I mean, so it's 40 cars in total, 20 for each of us, and we actually add some honorable mentions at the end. So let's just dive into that. Well, what's up, dude?
Oh, it's been a busy week. So, we haven't been in the podcast studio for 2 weeks now.
Yeah, because last week we recorded at my place.
After the Reliant Robin shoot.
Yeah. So maybe let's zoom out from that a bit. And how does the Reliant... full disclosure, I actually haven't gone through your footage yet.
Gotcha.
So, what's your, a week later perspective of, how the car sits with you? Or the trike, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Funny enough, I actually got sent a couple videos by a couple different people, just on random internet people that have Reliant Robins. So I've watched, a couple other videos since then.
You've been sent?
Yeah. Just, people sent me YouTube links.
Okay.
You drove a Reliant Robin, watch this video,
cool.
type of thing.
Cool.
Because, as we talked about last week, most of the people that would potentially listen to us have seen the Jeremy review, quote unquote.
That video has 30 million views on it.
Exactly.
So basically everybody ever.
Most of the car community will have seen it at some point.
Probably. Yeah.
So I was sent a couple videos of just individuals that have a small collection.
Cool.
There was a dude that has a collection of very weird and eclectic things, and naturally a Robin fits right in that category.
Totally, yeah.
He has a Trabant, he has
Cool.
the Robin, he has what was the other one?
Probably some other Reliance, too.
Yeah, he has another Reliant. He has just a bunch of weird shit.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a video where he did a 0 to 60 on every single car that he owns. But it was funny. I liked the way he did it because he's like, I'm going to do a total 0 to 60. So I'm going to take the 0 to 60 of every car and add them all together and do a total 0 to 60 of my fleet.
Oh, my God.
Which is hilarious. And the Trabant was 27 seconds.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not either, but it was funny.
Yeah.
So I found out some interesting things about a Robin from that video, which I wouldn't have known, just interacting with it like I did.
Sure.
So it is easier to lift the body off the frame to do engine work than it is to drop the engine out of the car.
I mean, that makes sense.
Because that's how they were built. The fiberglass body was just dropped onto the frame, and there's not really a subframe to drop out.
Yeah.
So you just...
just looking at it and with that information, that's very obvious, but you wouldn't think that just looking at it, I guess, if you didn't know that.
Yeah, and so he's talking about, my Robin has some things that it'll need. It'll get him whenever it actually ceases to move.
Sure, sure.
There was that.
I mean, that happens with collections and stuff.
And his was also a newer one. So the newer ones, I got to get a view of the updated interiors.
What era is newer? 90s?
90s, yeah.
Okay.
Late 90s.
The late 90s?
Yeah, the last gen one.
Oh, wow.
So it had it was still a very Spartan interior, but it was much more updated than what we drove.
With what?
So his had the radio, which ours could have come with the radio, but it was an option.
Okay.
It had a cigarette lighter. It had AC. It had a few of these things that came along later.
God, how much slower is that thing with AC on than it is with say the one we drove?
I bet, because I know that AC can rob anywhere from 5 to 15 horsepower. I bet.
Horsepower or percent?
Horsepower.
From those?
Yes. But it depends on how big the compressor is. So in those, the compressor might be pretty tiny.
Yeah, it has to be. Where else? Where else could it go?
Yeah, because otherwise that would rob 30% of the horsepower.
Yeah.
But it would be slower. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah.
However, I also found out another thing. Apparently, the whole weird touchy clutch and everything is completely normal for Reliance.
That makes sense.
That's pretty much par for the course, because his was the same way. He was trying to get a good start to get that 0 to 60, and he's like, fuck, I jumped the clutch a little too early again.
You bogged.
Yep.
Yep.
It's yep, okay, well, good to know that it wasn't just us.
It wasn't just us, and it wasn't just Kenny's car either.
Yeah, but after watching all those and having a week to ruminate on it, I'm coming away with a fairly good feeling about it, especially for what Kenny, the owner of that car that we know, paid for it, which I believe was somewhere 8 to 10. We found the listing at one point, it was 10.
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, with how many heads it turned, and depending on what you're looking for in a car, I mean, it's hilarious.
You can't turn more heads than that. You have to spend 100 times
Yeah.
what Kenny spent on that car in order to get
That kind of reaction.
any kind of fuck, Bugattis,
Yeah.
Koenigsegg's,
Yeah.
like you probably need to be spending Koenigsegg money to snap as many heads, but when you do snap those heads, you're not going to get as much of a positive reaction or response.
You'll get with those cars a positive reaction and response from the few people who know what it is.
Well,
but
you'll
to
get
the average
9-year-olds coming out that have been on Instagram,
Yeah.
Forever, and they'll be like, "Holy shit, it's the fucking Koenigsegg," and then you'll get their dads going like, "Oh, that's cool," but then like, you're not going to get the little old ladies going like, "Oh my god, that's like yeah."
So I was going to say, you're not going to snap as many heads in a positive way. Because, like, you can snap heads in a negative way for less than that, of course.
But there's also people, like, most people that would see something like, and I bring up Koenigsegg because a Utah Supercar owner just acquired one, and a Pagani.
Congrats, I guess.
I guess. He's actually starting YouTube, which I find interesting.
Yes.
But there's so much of just the public that would see something like a Pagani and just write it off as like, yes, that's a supercar, whatever.
Or, yes, that's a supercar, cool, another douchebag.
Maybe.
Yeah,
depending
on who they are.
Entirely possible who that specific person is. And also how the car is driving, too.
Yes.
And also what rap the car is.
How loud and shouty it is.
Exactly. With something like a white Reliant Robin with a Union Jack on the roof.
And a broken exhaust, which helped it turn more heads.
Maybe. Very possibly. Yeah, I was getting older folk, giving me the thumbs up and saying how it's a Mr. Bean. Someone at a light. I truth be told, I drove the car a little bit in transit from when we picked it up. So when Justin drove it for the first time, it was actually on camera. But when we were on the way to the McCune mansion, there was an older couple. I had the window rolled down because partially I wanted to hear the car.
Yeah,
and also like I knew people were going to want to engage with me, and so I was like, yeah, okay, cool. But there was like an older couple that they were like, oh yeah, it's the Mr.
Bean car.
Yeah. It was just super positive everywhere we went. We took a few photos up in the avenues at the end of the shoot. And like there were people like running by.
Yeah.
Like, on foot.
Yep.
And they were saying, how cute it was or how cool it was. And like, you're not going to get that with a GT3. You're not going to get that with a Pagani, Huayra, whatever, special edition. You're not going to get that with a lot of hypercars. So,
yeah,
$10,000, it gets you into, the head snapping game real easily.
And in an almost universally positive way. Across the board, because it doesn't matter if the person is car related or not. They look at it and they're either like, oh, Mr. Bean car, oh, that's cute, or oh, it has 3 wheels. And,
or what the fuck is that?
Yeah. They don't need to know anything about it to see that it's like weird and unique.
Oh yeah, it's also just tiny.
Yeah, and
to see it parked next to the Sequoia was truly hilarious.
Yes, exactly. It. I think overall, my experience after that has still been like positive. I did enjoy it. Do I see myself owning one? Not really, but like that.
It doesn't give you that kind of fizz?
No. I'm not. Listen, I'm into weird shit. I'm into sobs. I'm not just into things because they're weird and different. They have to have a few other qualifiers.
If we had this conversation 5 years ago, I think it would have gone differently.
A little bit, potentially. But like, as I've matured, like, I like uniqueness is a bigger factor to me than maybe some other people, but it's not the defining factor like it is for some.
Right.
And so, like, I want it to be unique, and that sometimes will trump even some bits of driving experience, depending on why I'm buying something.
Sure.
But that's very much not the first thing. I don't want to just be that guy that wants to buy everything that's considered weird.
But would it... Okay, so given a hypothetical scenario in which you had like a 20-car collection, would it be in your top in your 20 cars?
Probably not, because I'd rather have a Mini over that.
Interesting. Okay.
Because a Mini still ticks some of those boxes, even though it was mass-produced. It is still kind of weird and quirky compared to most other things.
Sure.
And a classic Mini, I should speculate or be specific.
Yeah.
And that was a lot more usable in other situations. The Reliant honestly didn't feel 3-wheeled for, we'll say, 50% of the time. Like if you're just
when you're driving straight, it doesn't feel
it doesn't feel that 3-wheeled. Like it doesn't feel as unbalanced as you would think. looking at
I don't
it.
know if I actually agree with that, but proceed.
Yeah, like it is still usable in most situations.
It
But
is.
with a Mini, the small factor still exists. You can still fit it anywhere and run around, and you have to really wring the engine out. But then you can do a canyon at kind of stupid speeds because you just don't have to slow down for a corner.
See, and I think if we flipped it on me, I would probably allot myself, if we have a 20-car collection, I would probably try to keep, my favorite brand, Porsche, to probably maybe 5 to 7 of those cars.
Yep.
So, have an have a 964, have a GT4 RS and a GT3 Touring, and then a Carrera GT, and oh god, what else would I want? But anyways, what I mean is I would have a small section be that core,
Yep.
and then have an RS6 Avant daily, and then for when I just want to forget about the world and just isolate.
Yeah.
But then I would want to have a couple cars, say an ERA Turbo Mini, and then also a Reliant Robin. I think would be hilarious. Just to have an on a whim, oh, I want to take this today, just to make people laugh and the weather's nice.
Yeah.
And I'm not going very far.
You know what? I think we should do that. I think let's jot down a 20-car collection for each of us. I just started a document. I have got it numbered for each of us.
Okay, so since you started with me on the list, let's put down Porsche 964 Carrera 4.
Okay.
Because that's what my dad had.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what turned me on to cars in the first place. Then let's do 718 GT4 RS. Let's then do 991.2 GT3 Touring. Then let's go with Carrera GT. Let's see. Fuck it. Let's do a 992 Turbo S. And that's my 5 Porsches.
Okay.
I think that's pretty comprehensive. Because you're getting some older stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I would swap out.
I know you're going to have a hard time with Porsches and swapping things out.
Well, yeah, but I could also see myself ditching the GT4 RS for something like a 356.
Yeah.
Like a 356C, which was the tail end of 356 before 911 happened.
Yep.
I could also see myself throwing in a 914-6 into the mix somewhere. I mean, there isn't a Singer on there, so I could, in theory, swap out the GT3 Touring for a Singer or for a Gunther Works, something like that. But I'm not gonna have the list be that.
Yeah.
Let's do. Ooh, an old Lotus 7 would be really, really cool for the collection.
Mm-hmm.
And since we already mentioned them, let's do ERA Turbo Mini and Reliant Robin.
Okay.
RS6 Avant, the C8 generation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would own a C8 Corvette.
Understandable.
I don't think I would.
Yeah.
Let's go Shelby GT350R. I think that would be up there. Let's do also Lotus Elise.
Okay.
I mean, that's 11 cars.
Yeah, well, let me start jotting some of mine down. You can think for a minute.
Sure.
So, fortunately, I guess, I already own...
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Gildred Racing. I don't know what the actual model of their Mini is, but it's the one that with the J Series V6 that's also Roadtrek supercharged.
I'll just call it the J Series Mini, because that should tell us what roughly.
It's 500 horsepower, rear-engined, rear-wheel drive, just drag monster.
Yep.
And something that's bigger, just barely big enough,
So, and I'll just start jotting some of mine down. So, I guess, fortunately, there's one of them I already own, which is my Saab. Honestly, that would still be in my 20-car collection, which is awesome that I've owned it for 8 years, and I think that would still hold a place.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed, which is fantastic. Yes, the Rossion would make an appearance. I mean, it is just, to me, a culmination of a bunch of things. I would then take the ERA as well. I'm
Interesting.
glad we both agree on that.
I'm excited to see the bleed over here from the list.
Yeah, because, like, really, I think that car made a very good impression on both of us. And we also had a very good example that was slightly tuned up. And I think that was just the perfect amount.
I wouldn't buy Tanner's.
Yeah.
I would want one with a body kit.
Yeah.
Because that's part of it to me.
Yeah.
I like I appreciate his sleeper aspect of it, that, like, it just looks like a slightly bluer BRG.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is kind of turquoise. It depends on the light.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the quote-unquote sleeperness of it.
Yeah.
But that's not what I would want. And actually, I also kind of want to throw in, well, no, I already have the Gildred Racing. I was going to say another, like, a B18, like a front-engine B18 Mini would be fun, but I think the Gildred Racing would be that much more of a riot.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
I would then want, and I'm going to deviate wildly here. Do you know what that? So,
yes, I do know what a deuce and a half is.
So I would want a deuce and a half. I've wanted one, an M35A2, and for those that don't know, it's a 6-wheeled military flatbed, effectively.
Yeah.
That you can find them for $5 to $10,000 all day long. They don't do over 55. Like, they're interesting vehicles, but the main reason why is because it is. I wouldn't even have it for a road vehicle, although I'd have it registered. I'd mainly have it for, like, just whatever the fuck needs to be moved, or there's. Well, I'm not a prepper, but there is a cool zombie apocalypse type thing with that vehicle.
Sure.
They came with an engine called the multi-fuel. So it's a diesel engine with spark plugs. It'll burn anything.
Well, I mean, you could also overland with it, too.
You could. Exactly.
If you wanted to fuck off for a weekend or for a long weekend, like a 5-day weekend, that's a really long weekend, but, like, if you wanted to just go out into the hills somewhere or go down to the desert or whatever.
So there's a cool version of those that actually has it's basically a mobile base station. So it already has, like, it's not a flatbed. It actually has a kind of cab built on the back instead. So it's about 16 feet long, 8 feet high, about 8 feet wide. So it's the size of a small RV. You could very easily set that up for a prime overlanding rig.
Yeah. And I think if we're going to talk about overlanding rigs, too, we could probably add to mine. I mean, you could just call it Ram Chop, but it's the rig that we have at Expedition Superstore. We are now a dealer for 4-wheel campers.
Yep.
I think I mentioned that on the podcast before, but it's a Ram Power Wagon 2500 that has. It's not the Granby, because the Granby is still, that's still a bed camper, but this, like, the flatbed camper. It's got a toilet. It has a shower in it. You can also mount the shower outside. Sink, stovetop, bed. It has everything you need. It can also, like, that thing has power.
Oh yeah.
Like, my boss, he claimed and advertised he claimed a top speed of 104,
which is moving for something that size.
Yeah, the thing probably weighs, I don't know, 10,000 pounds?
Yeah, somewhere between 8 to 10, easily.
Yeah, somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it has everything you need and nothing you don't. So, if I were to fuck off to the wilderness, that would be a rig that I'd want to probably have.
I've got one more to add real quick.
Okay. C8 Spiker would be rad.
Yes, a Spiker C8 early on. They're beautiful cars.
Also quirky. Also Audi 4.2.
Yeah, they have a lot of great features, and it's funny that they're one of the cars that had a reverse bell curve where they came out at a reasonable price, really dipped down for a second, and they have skyrocketed back up to the 350 range,
which is about where they were sticker, wasn't it?
No, they were cheap sticker, under 200.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Even the Airleons?
Yeah, the cheapest one you could get, I think, was like around 130, and the Airleons were like right around 180, 190.
Oh, I thought they were expensive.
No, I think that's part of the problem is that they weren't.
Maybe.
For all the specialness that they had, because yes, they took an Audi drivetrain, but other than that, a lot of other shit.
Everything else was bespoke.
Yeah, and from everything I've seen, really well done.
Mm-hmm.
Like a true gem of, like, an automobile to drive around.
Sure.
That's one, and then this one's, we're just kind of left turning all over the place. So that is my one, like, absolute fuckmobile, a Pagani Zonda R. And that's
not something that you can drive anywhere, though.
Not necessarily. And
I mean, there are racetracks that won't allow that either.
I know. That's why this is kind of a dream list. And when I first saw the Pagani Zonda R, I don't know why. This was back, when I was a teenager, and so it
when Clarkson drove it.
Yes,
Yeah.
it really struck me, and I was just like, oh my god, I want that. Not for any specific reason, but just because it's so cool. I understand perfectly that it's practically unusable.
Yeah,
but it's goddamn cool.
I have one.
Yep.
Lexus LFA.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
That is a damn good choice. Yeah.
If for nothing else than just sounds. I mean, you are snapping necks everywhere you go because people will go, "What the fuck? That's an LFA."
Yep.
And there are a couple cars in here that definitely are like neck snappers.
Mm-hmm.
Like a Carrera GT.
Oh yeah.
You just don't see. Ram Chop would be that actually did get a decent amount of attention when we went down to Trona.
Yeah.
And also when we were at the Slow Rex, the Salt Lake Off-Road Expo.
Yeah.
I have to think about that name every time I say it. It's like, wait, it's Salt Lake Outdoor. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Fuck. I mean, I'm only at 14. You're only at 6. I mean,
so
what's your daily out of all of these? And you're not even you're like a third of the way through.
Yeah, I don't even think I've actually put what I would have as a daily. Honestly, what I would at this moment want as a daily would actually probably be. Let me just think for just a second because there's like 3 things vying for that position. I think I would honestly go with, at least from what's available here, the Volvo V60.
You take that over an RS6?
Maybe. I'm just going to put it on here.
Okay.
With the caveat that I've driven an RS6 briefly. I have not driven the V60, the Polestar plug-in hybrid.
Okay. We'll have to have this conversation after we drive Carson's.
Yes.
Whenever he gets it.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever is the sad keyword.
Mm-hmm.
Because after looking at going with Carson, looking through how much spec sheets that his could have, there's just so many good middle grounds that's hits, especially because you can drive at almost 50 miles an all electric.
Sure.
That's really could be useful in certain circumstances, and it's kind of a nice feature. It's also a little bit smaller than the RS6, so it's not quite as much of a bear to get around things.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I had one for like 3 days.
Yeah, it's a big boy.
Yeah.
And the Volvos, as we've both discussed, from a design standpoint, have just done such a good job.
They do such a good job. They drive weird, though.
They do. And that's where I'm putting the caveat out there, is I have not actually piloted that car, so that could change based on that. But from what I've seen so far and the reviews and whatnot I've seen, those drive better than most of the other Volvos. They drive less weird, I'll put it that way. I'm actually looking up one. There's one more car I want to add to this list because it was another one that.
I mean, dude, you're at 7 out of 20.
I know.
We shouldn't have made this list so fucking long.
Oh, here we go. No, we got it. Here's another one.
Oh yes.
So, for those of you that remember, I think it was Top Gear season like 13 or 14.
You know, Everyday Driver drove one too.
They did.
Yeah. Griot's has one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Griot's Garage up in Seattle.
Yeah, so Clarkson drove what was called an Eagle E-Type Speedster.
Yeah.
Which was a what is it called? It's not technically a Restomod. It's way more than that. It's a
reimagined.
Reimagined. That's the right word. A reimagined E-Type Jag with a the same recipe, we'll call it, but with modern stuff. A modern, moderately high horsepower, naturally aspirated straight 6, modern 6-speed, all these little treats added into what looks like a Restomod E-Type. And from just like watching that review and how he just was gushing. No, it wasn't Clarkson, it was Hammond.
Oh, I didn't see this episode. Or maybe I did.
It was a while ago.
long time ago.
Yeah. So watching that and just how much he was gushing over it, just how perfect everything was with that car. Like that would be such a fantastic open weather or open roof, good weather cruiser that just looks amazing because it kept all. I think that's kind of a gold standard of keeping all of the good things about such an iconic car as the E-Type, but making it better.
Sure.
Because it didn't lose any of the charm. It still had wire wheels that were custom made for the E-Type Speedster that were modern in modern sizes.
Right.
It still had...
So you can actually get tires for it.
Yes, you can actually get tires for it. And it actually handles well. It has a modern straight six that I think was around 400 horsepower, I think, somewhere around there.
You're telling me, I don't know.
I don't know. This is coming off the cusp. I know it was up there,
Yeah.
like above 300, with the same kind of design language, just kind of boldened a little bit on all the edges. It just, anyways, that one has always struck me as something that would be extremely cool to own as well.
Sure.
On top of that, go ahead.
Oh, I have a couple. Speaking of Top Gear and speaking of things that are kind of funky and might look older than they actually are.
Yep.
Remember the Weissman?
I think so.
Jamie, pull that up.
Is that
No. It's W.
Oh, yeah, W-E.
Weissmann.
Gotcha. That sounds
they made
familiar.
a couple of cars, but they had the BMW like E39 V8 in there.
That didn't...
Weissman car.
Yep.
Or something. Yeah.
Pulled up some dude named Weissman.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I remember that thing.
Yes!
Yeah, that thing was bonkers. I remember
Yes.
the weirdness of that.
Yes.
Now, the question
Super coach built, super bespoke.
I remember these, like, falling waterfall taillights.
Yeah, just cascading into the middle.
This, yeah.
But look at the front, the one next to it, though.
That one?
Or keep two to the right. Yeah, that.
That's pretty sweet.
I mean, if you want to get, like, modern meets Art Deco,
Yeah.
you know, it's something just weird. That would snap a lot of heads, probably, of people that either know what it is or maybe even not know what it is. That would be a fun, like, if you were to drive, like, up to, like, Log Haven, go up Mill Creek Canyon with the top down, and, like, you know, going out to dinner, like, you know, to just a date night spot.
Oh, yeah.
That would be really cool.
I love the interiors on them, too. This is kind of a
Interiors are great.
Yeah, there you go. A little bit better picture.
I mean,
Like, really cool.
I mean, they use nice materials.
Yeah.
That's a newer car though.
Yeah, that does look
That's electric. It says.
interesting. Oh, so this is their, it looks like Project Electric. This is probably a...
This is a new car.
Yeah.
This is not the old one.
I think that's the old one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Kind of looks like a Viper interior, actually.
Kind of. It's like Viper meets BMW Z8.
Yeah, it's got all the individual gauge pods on like the center console, kind of like the Viper does. And I agree, it kind of meets C8. It kind of flows around the driver passenger area.
No, not C8.
Or,
the Z8.
Z8, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the BMW.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense.
It makes sense because that's a BMW engine. Fuck. Okay, so where are we at now?
So we're there. I'm going to add one more to my list, which is not going to surprise anyone.
Audi 200 Avant.
Like the one that I sold, foolishly.
Yeah.
I want one back. Fantastic car. And the only other Audi to make the list, Audi D2 S8.
Yeah.
That would be a great just...
I would love to... I don't even know who would do what I imagine, but like singer treatment
to a D2 S8.
But do a D2 S8. That would be really, really cool.
There's been a few I've seen, although I don't know details, that I think are personal projects that are probably approaching somewhat what you're imagining,
Maybe.
like on groups and stuff, mostly over in Europe where they're a little more popular and there's a pretty good crowd of people.
But I'm not talking about like replace the seats and add an infotainment to it. Like I'm talking like a whole like replace the dash. I'm talking about like I mean the entire interior is coming out with new gauge wheel.
Yep.
Dash, seats, like a whole redesign of the car, but like redesign it for 2023.
Yeah, and I've seen some people that like would, if you piecemealed multiple cars together, they've each individually done pieces that would work with that recipe. Like some people have done really crazy good things with the interior, others with the engine and drivetrain, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that would be the one that if I had it, that would be my stance car.
No, that totally makes sense.
I would throw it on air, but slam it on its fucking balls.
I am not almost ever I'm not a fitment person. I'm not a stance person. Very rarely do I like one of those cars. And it's not even to do with whether or not it's done quality. It's just mostly not my thing. However, that is one of the cars that is an exception. It fucks so well when it's lowered.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm glad I wouldn't say they've come around and started to become appreciated. They've honestly been in like the 8 to $15,000 range for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, the rising tide raises all boats thing. Like, it's come up with everything else. They haven't particularly had their own spike.
But I think that
Audi
is
4.2 film be damned.
right, exactly. I think that is one of the cars, though, that I think might have its heyday because honestly, it is so good. I mean, unfortunately, as we've
It's
mentioned,
also been in film too, not just. I mean,
not us,
but in Ronin, yeah,
as a star car, and
that adds to the legacy.
And having driven an S600 from that exact same era, I'm gonna be honest, the D2 aged better, a lot better. It aged very well.
An S600,
Mercedes Benz.
Oh yes,
So like the rough comparable.
See, you say that, and I think Honda.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, wait, what?
No,
No.
Because I've piloted a couple of those around when I was working at the shop.
Yeah, these have held together better.
Overall better because
Yeah.
as I mentioned in the film, and I understand there were some things I could have changed with wording wise. That was their Halo car at the time.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
And
I mean, Halo cars aren't what sell and make numbers for a company.
Yep.
I mean, I keep talking about Porsche, but like,
yeah,
the car that saved them. People say that the Boxster did. I would actually say the Cayenne, at least from my anecdotal experience and from what I've seen out and about.
Yeah.
That's what saved them, and the Macan, coming later, and the Panamera as well.
Yep.
Like those, none of those are Halo cars.
But
People
those
don't really aspire to own a Cayenne. I mean, some people might, but like that's not what's really happening.
No, but those financially saved them.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And I think with the D2, it's people may have aspired to own a D2, but realistically could afford a B5 S4 at the time, and that's
Or A4,
and that's what saved them because the B5 A4 is still everywhere.
Yeah.
Tons of them around. But yeah, that's definitely one to add to that list. I think that might be the only two Audis that make the list.
Really? You out of 20 cars, you wouldn't own any of the R8s. 20 cars. I mean, I've rattled off a lot, and I'm at 15.
Yeah.
I'm starting to run out of ideas.
You know what? I'm gonna put one more.
You're halfway to the list, my guy.
I know.
See, I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire on this one because
fine.
you said we should make lists.
Oh yeah. I am going to throw out there. Oh boy, do I want to throw that on there? I just had an idea.
Well, I mean,
Go ahead.
I'll add for another date night car, completely on the kind of on the opposite end of the Weissman, but a V10 R8 Spider with the stick.
Nice. Okay. Nope, that totally makes sense. The one I was debating on adding to this list, which is in pretty much every way completely unrealistic and would never happen.
Well, I mean, we're talking about a 20 car list, so
This is really dream because it wouldn't ever happen.
yeah.
But the Ken Block's
The RS Hoonigan, the
Hunatron.
the one that you like delivered,
Yes.
basically. Yeah.
Because like that was not only a cool experience to be there with it, but like it is a bespoke car. There is a couple components shared, but everything about it from the ground up.
And that's probably something that would be, if you had a warehouse, that would be at the center.
Yeah.
That wouldn't never move.
Most likely, yeah.
You could have it at the center, like on a raised, like a round stage.
Yeah.
Like a podium in the middle, and be like, that's like the coolest fucking thing in here. Yes, we are advocates of driving all of your cars, but like that one can stay.
This moves very, very occasionally.
That one moves by pushing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's because when I got to experience that thing and really see it in depth, like actually see underneath the covers and everything like that.
Sure.
Just the amount of detail and thought that I could tell that went into it, and even getting to accidentally run into two of the engineers that were there fixing it once during one of the times I was trying to help move it. I could tell, like, this was their baby. They didn't.
Totally.
I could totally tell that they didn't probably ever dream of being allowed to do that until Audi sponsored Ken.
Yeah.
And then it was like, cool, make the coolest fucking shit in the world.
Yeah.
And I know that even we talked about how, like, the film that featured it was...
A lot of people say it was a letdown. I don't necessarily agree.
And we talked about it on the podcast. Knowing some of the behind the scenes that I did, I know a few of the things that happened that caused it to not quite be as big as maybe some of the other Gymkhanas.
Yeah.
A lot of delays. But like knowing what that car can do and having seen it, and knowing that like that fully electric car only weighs like around 2,200 pounds, which is 800 fucking horsepower.
Well, I mean that's insane.
Yeah, it's
Truly.
It's beyond insane, and that's the only car that Ken went through triple the amount of tires he usually does, because
It kind of makes sense though.
because there's no gears. It's just floor it, and all of a sudden your wheel speed's 150 and you're not moving instead of like 40 or 50.
Mm-hmm.
Wild.
Yep.
Anyways, another one I would definitely throw on, and this is going to be an interesting one. Do you know what a Lincoln Zephyr is?
I feel like I've heard of it.
So
is this like pre-Continental? This sounds old.
It is very old. A Lincoln Zephyr is really cool for several reasons.
That's kind of what I was imagining.
So they are cool, and they can be done up really well, whether in stock.
Oh wait,
form
so
or
you're not talking about that thing to the left of that?
No, no, I am not.
The 2006 Lincoln Zephyr.
Which is funny because I think that they reuse the Zephyr name in other markets, because that's clearly just a Ford 500.
I think that also came here though.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the classic Lincoln Zephyr from the 30s. What's cool about it is a V12.
Oh, okay.
It's a really cool old car, and I haven't driven one, but I do know somebody that has one, and they're really cool.
Are they up here?
Yes, I don't know if it runs though.
Well.
But it would be a very interesting thing to try out. It was cool to sit in. Like, it's a very, obviously, a big two-door coupe that is of the period. It's a 30s executive American sedan.
Oh, totally. It's 1930s American XS.
Yes, and it was super cool. And like these are the things where, if done properly, they can look properly cool slammed like that.
Yeah.
Depending on what you want to do with it. I love that. Of course, they've got the vanity plate 39 dragger.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, and clearly it is dragging its exhaust and nuts.
Dragging
on the
its ass.
But it does look well done. I'll give him that. Like that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
like with the wheel covers on the back.
Mhm.
Like, that's proper.
Oh.
Well, what I was going to also add, I'm starting to run out of space, by the way.
Yeah, you got 4 left.
Yeah. I do think something that would be cool would be, like a 64 Continental.
Oh, yeah.
That would be my other, like, show car, would be that on air. Also on its nuts. Black on black with, with the big hubcaps.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably kill off the rest of my list right now, actually.
Okay.
I would like... So I've been seeing and appreciating what Leah Block has been doing.
Yeah.
With her BRZ.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got to go on. Because I do believe, and I've wanted to do this for a while, actually, of having either driving or having like a lifted BRZ with, all terrains on it. Front engine, rear wheel drive, really great on-road dynamics, also equals great off-road dynamics, like on slippery surfaces.
Yeah.
So yeah, like a rally or a safari BRZ. I'm also gonna say I'll have a second half of my Overland rig set up.
Gotcha.
And that would be like a lifted Hawkeye STI hatch.
If I couldn't, type correctly.
That would help.
I know, right?
That, like an Overland rig, like have a rooftop tent on that, have a bunch of, just camping shit in the back, but you can also like send it on like, on gravel roads and stuff. I have one more.
Yep, go ahead.
2016 Fiesta ST.
Aww. Wow.
I would also probably, I would go through like, if I have this much money to have 20 cars, that also all run.
Yes.
Then I'm gonna have money for going through different iterations of Fiesta ST, but like going through a period of making it like be like a track build, like doing track work. I would have a period of it being like that, lift, full on rally car.
Oh yeah.
It would go through a number of different iterations, have different chapters in it.
Okay.
And then eventually return to stock and then just drive it around.
Okay, I've got another one.
Hey!
I honestly, the black car, the NA1 NSX that we drove on film, made enough of an impression. I think it would definitely make an appearance on that list.
Hell yeah.
I loved that.
That's rad.
I loved the manual steering car, and it still is difficult for me to choose between that and the yellow NA2.
Yeah.
Because they're both fantastic.
Yeah. Well, also that the NA2, the yellow NA2, the pop-up, the fixed headlight car, and I don't think this ever happened with pop-up NA2, but for fixed headlight NA2, it would be electric steering to a speed, and then it would drop electric steering and become manual steering.
Yeah.
Which, like, when you're going through a canyon, or just when you're, maybe even going through town, or if you're just on the highway, it's manual steering, and you feel everything that's going on. You know what's going on.
Yep.
You can load up into a corner and be confident. Yeah, I completely agree why you would be, 50-50 on either, but I also understand why you choose the black NA1.
I think there's one more that I'm actually going to agree with you on and steal from your list.
Go for it.
The GT350R. I haven't even driven one.
You were there, though, weren't you?
Nope.
Oh,
nope. That's one of the ones that we have on our list that we would love to get around to.
So I've driven one. It's the reason why my neck is in its situation that it's been in. I truly believe that, actually. Jokes aside, I actually do believe that because I pinched a nerve at one point after driving one, and I went and got a massage and made the problem worse.
Hell yeah.
And then I went to the doctor and got an assessment done, and they were like, yeah, you pinched a nerve between C6 and C7 vertebrae.
Sweet.
And here you go. So, yeah, I mean, for me personally, I drove that car in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
In a very different chapter of my life.
Yeah.
Surrounded by different people.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want. It's been one of those things where I kind of want to drive one, just so I can actually make a video on it. The intent was to make a video on it. There were a lot of technical difficulties from myself and also from the assistant that I also had.
Yeah.
With like cameras just like either like not working or formatting cards or all this other stuff. It would be cool to have like a return to form or a like a personal redemption.
Yeah.
Not like a redemption like with the Mark V R32 that we're about to go drive.
Mm-hmm.
But more, yeah. I kind of do, but at the same time, like the feelings that I have about that car and about the experience that I had at the time, I don't want to necessarily feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's not quite a meet your heroes thing.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to have like, not meet my expectations of like, oh, this was so great back when I drove it in 2017.
Fair.
Yeah.
So I've got two more weird curveballs here.
Anyways, I didn't want to make that about me though.
No,
why would you want to have that in your garage, Justin?
The dynamics would be fantastic, and I'd love to experience it. It's very well known how dynamically amazing that car is.
It's just competent, and the engine is purely exotic.
That's the reason why.
Yeah,
I would want it for the engine.
I get it. Yeah.
So I have three more curveballs to drop onto this list right now. I want to do my Frankenstein build Crown Vic with the GT350 drive.
Oh hell yeah!
Because I've had a dream for a while ever since we rented Icky Vicky in California of just strip everything out, make it have competent suspension underneath, drop a GT350 motor and 6-speed in, just a fuck around sedan that never existed.
Also independent suspension, like do basically effectively drop a Crown Vic body onto a GT350, make it work.
Make it work and make it good and make it relatively sleeper. I don't want to go full rusty and like really, really sleeper like you'd think it was some beat ass old cop car.
Yeah.
But like make it clean, but don't make it obvious.
Right.
That's what I would love.
Okay.
Then this is one you're really not going to know what it is.
Those are 5 letters.
Yes. So an HMMTT, or HEMT as it is known in military speak.
Okay.
Is an 8-wheel drive absolute monstrosity.
We all have probably seen these at some point, but just didn't know what it was. But yeah, it's a military tractor.
So this is another thing that would just be for the fun fuck of it, of just practically do anything, go anywhere.
For the lulz.
For the lulz. This can climb a 60% grade.
Yeah, I believe that.
And it's really cool how they work, because depending on what era you get, most of them, the newer ones, are actually hybrids.
Oh,
They're
interesting.
electric driven at the wheels with just a massive generator right behind the cab.
Oh, so it's like a Volt.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it can actually it'll do like 60 miles an hour.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet. They have come in a lot of different variations. I'd probably get one like a flatbed like this because I would want to get my M35A2 with the cab thing like I was talking about and build it to be a camper.
Sure.
But I'd probably get one like this because it also has a claw hook so you can drop that flatbed onto the ground. So
Cool.
you could make that actually a really good tow vehicle for low vehicles.
Totally.
So
That's rad.
I'd want it for that. And then the other one, which is a kind of odd curb. Well, this isn't odd, you knowing me, but I would want some type of built Kenworth W900, just a semi, which is an older long hood semi with like an accompanying trailer, so I could trailer things around.
Cool.
I also have the license to drive it, so it's great.
Yep.
I just do everything.
Well, so you bringing up the Hemet makes me think about a Sherp.
I thought about a Sherp
Yeah.
because they are very interesting.
They are. I mean, they can go anywhere just as long as you're only doing 28 miles an hour or less.
Yes.
But it also, is it 28 miles an hour? It's something like pretty slow, but it can also do like about, I think it's 2,800 miles on a tank.
Yeah.
Like the tanks are massive.
It's pretty wild, and I think the only reason I wouldn't include a Sherp is because it's not technically a road vehicle. I'm trying to keep this to road vehicles.
Okay. That's fair.
And like, I know I say that in the Hunatron, a completely unregisterable vehicle is on
Well,
that list,
also you have a fucking Hemet.
which is registerable and road legal. You don't even.
Yeah, but like, come on. Come on.
The funny thing about military vehicles, when I was looking it all up, most of those are just registered as regular road vehicles, so you don't even need a license to drive it.
That kind of scares me for the kind of clientele that would be interested in acquiring such vehicles.
Oh, me too.
Yep.
Me too. I'm a strong proponent as a person that holds a CDL that laws that hold me to the standard that I'm held to should be applied to everybody that's driving that big of a vehicle, regardless of whether it's commercial or not.
Yeah.
Completely. Because we've all seen the 80-year-old driving down the road in his 52-foot fucking $500,000 RV that he shouldn't be driving at 80 years old. No offense.
Oh, offense. Offense. Get butthurt.
Yeah. For three more.
I'm not even thinking about like old people. I'm thinking about like fucking batshit libertarians.
Yeah, true. Oh, yeah.
like the,
No,
like,
I know
like the prepper kind of like batshit, like
Well,
Joe Rogan libertarians.
And I'm thinking even beyond that of sovereign citizens is more the ones that I would be afraid of.
Yeah,
that level.
also that. Yeah.
For three more, because I've kind of my list is all over the place. Your list is pretty concise and relatively expected for you.
I like what I like.
Yes, exactly. I
have daily in there. I have fun sports car and supercar. I have some flex on the people. Head turners. Like pull up to a car meet with a Carrera GT. Like come on.
Oh yeah.
Or an LFA. You weren't expecting Weissman though. I know that.
Nope.
Anyways, back to you though. Yes. Okay. Okay. Would that be on air though? Because that could be a fucking badass show car.
I think so.
A Chevy Corvette. Because like they're not dynamically good.
No, they're not.
They're shit.
Yes. So I've driven one Corvair, and it was an original car. So it was like we'll call it a Survivor Daily. It definitely needed a repaint and several other things, but it did run and drive and was mechanically solid for just putting around town and whatnot. It was really interesting. Because it wasn't, for just doing around town things, it wasn't as dynamically bad as some of the like rumors suggested, because that was one of the earliest examples of a piece of media, namely a book, unsafe at any speed.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that car was highlighted in that book, but that car was not the purpose of the book. There's a lot of other shit from the era. Like little kids getting impaled by the... I mean, the big reason why cars stopped having the big fucking fins in the back is for, impact ratings and, like, children literally getting their ribs impaled.
Yep.
And they're, like, their chest impaled by upon impact, so...
And I know that wasn't the only point of the book, but it is the one that, for some reason, society ended up remembering.
Sure.
And it did a good amount of damage to the Corvair. It's one of the earliest examples of like a piece of media like that doing a ton of damage to
destroying a car.
Yeah,
it almost happened with Audi, as we know.
Yeah. But driving that one time, I came away with this feeling of like, man, with some tweaks, this could be really cool. Like you just said, I think making that a show car would be sweet. And I've seen a few of them. And you know what? I'm actually going to put one other qualifier. because I've seen one of these. There's one that exists in the Lane Motor Museum.
Oh, cool.
So the Corvair wagon, because they did exist. They weren't just a prototype, but there was very few of them.
Yeah.
Very, very few. So a Chevy Corvair wagon done up in show car type garb
Sure.
would be pretty sweet.
After you give your last two, I also have some honorable mentions too for mine.
Okay, cool. Probably beyond that, because like I've kind of covered most of my bases. I can, with my list, I can effectively do anything I want already.
Yeah.
In a way. You know what? Give your honorable mentions. I might need a second for my last two.
So a car that kind of lit me up as a 16-year-old, a 15 and 16-year-old. My parents and I were staying at this hotel down in, I believe it was Bluff, Utah.
Mm-hmm.
So middle of nowhere towards the Four Corners area. Basically think Monument Valley adjacent.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
And there was this little shed that was on site that was just as annexed to the hotel.
Yeah.
And it was like a little mom and pop joint. Like clearly the hotel had been around for like 40, 50 years. The guy running the front desk was like the nephew to the original founder kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the front doors were, I don't even remember if the shed had front doors. It might not have. But it was this little shelter thing.
Okay.
And I popped my head in, and there was a pale blue, sky blue, baby blue Studebaker Hawk.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are photos that I have taken on a little point and shoot do exist somewhere, and I should dig them up and send them to you.
Yeah.
But pale baby blue over like a white interior.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was fucking cool. And so we'd stay there for like a few days, and I would like every day I'd like go and like pop my head out and like see if it's still there. And like it was still there. It was covered in dust, hadn't been run in probably 20 years.
Oh yeah.
But it was like the original owner of the hotel's car that had been parked there. It had like 60 some odd thousand miles on it. Interior was like covered in dust but clean.
Yeah.
And I actually like, popped the door open. Like I wanted to see if it would open. Like popped it open and I'd like eventually like sit inside it. Nobody around.
Oh yeah.
And I would just like poke my head in there. I was like, this is so cool. And I think like the owner or like the guy running the front desk said like, yeah, I'll sell it to you for like $10,000.
I mean,
and I was like, how cool would that be for my first car to be an old like Studebaker Hawk?
Oh yeah. I think we all had a thought like that.
Yeah. So that's an honorable mention. I think Carmen Gia also as a show car would be really fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking about the guy with the collection,
Yep.
I read an old period advertisement once, or maybe it was even an old period correct car and driver article that had like a 0 to 60 of one of those like 33 seconds.
Oh yeah. That's fantastic.
And there's a guy I know that he used to live in Evanston. I think he lives like in eastern Wyoming now.
Okay.
Maybe he's in Cheyenne now. I don't know. But he has like a pale blue Studebaker that's like, it's kind of a derelict project build thing.
Yeah.
Like the paint is not good. It's like kind of rusty. It has like a rusty little box or like a cage on the top, and he runs it around with like a little rusty bike, like a pedal bike.
Oh,
on
dude,
it.
you know what's funny? He's 5 miles away from here. He lives in Kaysville.
He lives here?
Yep.
No, he doesn't. Brett?
Oh wait, hang on. There is one almost exactly like what you just described that lives in Kaysville.
No
So there's a
fucking way.
So there's a family that I went to high school with. Every car, except for I think one, every single one is either a Carmen Gia, a Bug, or a bus.
So that's not this guy. This guy lives in Wyoming.
Gotcha.
I'm not getting a whole lot of photos of like the actual full car.
Okay.
Here's one actually.
I can just probably see it from there. Oh yeah, I've seen that car.
Yeah, he's come up to Cars and Coffee. We met him on a drive that we were doing through Mirror Lake Highway, and we were in Evanston, like getting lunch or whatever. And he pulled into the parking lot, and we were like, "Bro, like what the fuck? Like this is rad.
This is awesome."
And we all got to talking, and he ended up following the Park City Car Club, and he like comes down sometimes. But something like this with like, period correct wheels, but like it's slammed. I think he's static. I don't think he's on bags, which is a lot.
It's both cool and scary at the same time.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that for, if I had all the money in the world type of scenario.
Yeah.
And he's probably the same way too.
Yeah.
But yeah, something like that. I thought I had maybe another honorable mention.
Well,
I did see the other day though, the fucking cleanest, mintest red Ford Lightning, like the early 2000s.
Hell yeah.
It's like, those are pretty cool. Like those and like the Ram SRT 10s.
They're, it's one of those things you look at me like, I know they're shit, but
Yeah.
they're still cool.
But it looks like fun.
I know. So, I have my last two.
Okay.
So there is going to be one more Saab that graces this list, and I actually debated on what it would be, but a Saab 93.
Yep.
So technically the second production automobile they made, but the first one that really was fairly more widespread.
That was pre-99?
Mm-hmm.
This was 93, then the 99?
Yeah, kind of, more or less.
Okay.
This was the mid-60s. This was when they had the 3-cylinder 2-stroke.
Okay.
So the really cool, like, high-revving 30 horsepower.
So this is not the one that requires your throttle to get the oil going.
It is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
So how that worked, James in particular, when he did the Saab drive where he mentioned that's only partially true because it was only the early cars that had that specific issue. Later on, they developed a freewheeling flywheel hub that would re-oil the engine and disengage the clutch on freewheeling so it wouldn't hold the engine at high RPM.
Right.
And so they did fix that issue later on. But yeah, I would want that one, but I'd want specifically the one with the 2-stroke because that's just super cool.
Yeah.
That's also the one that Stig Blomqvist, not Stig Blomqvist, who was he? There was the famous Bjorn Carlson, one of the only famous rally driver to ever do Saabs, because that was the 60s, so a long time ago, way before the Audi era and everything. He drove those, two souped up ones, of course, but really cool. And then finally,
you got 20. Yeah. You know what? I don't know why I didn't think of that before, but yeah.
I needed a classic from Europe, like a big old classic, because I have an American classic. I don't have a true Japanese classic from those eras. The only things that were coming out of Japan in the 50s. When did the 3000 GT come out? Or sorry, the 2000 GT. That was I think
that was 60s.
That was 60s. So there wasn't too much coming out, but I wanted something like between 30s and 50s to match with
the 2000 GT was 67 to 70.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I wanted something to kind of match with my Zephyr, like a car from 30s to 50s era.
You do have an Eagle Speedster, but that's like a reimagined kind of thing, so it's not quite true to the...
Exactly. Thing. So I was looking at this, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. 300 SL Gullwing.
Yeah.
Just the coolest, one of the, if not the coolest car from its era, that if it shows up at a show is a showstopper.
Yes, can confirm. There's a dude that I haven't seen him in a long time, but he came to Park City Cars and Coffee. It was October of 2016.
Yeah.
He and his wife pull up to the Cars and Coffee towards the end of the show. It was like 30 minutes left or something. He just shows up with this 300 SL Gullwing in silver, and everyone loses their shit and just surrounds him. And I ended up talking to him for a second. That's his one fun car.
Wow.
That's it. So how that car came into that guy's life, I think it belonged to his father-in-law, who then passed.
And he inherited
inherited a 300 SL Gullwing.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, I'm sorry for your loss.
Wow.
But also an incredible story.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Imagine just backdooring your way into a fucking 300 SL Gullwing. That's probably now... I mean, at the time, I think those were around $1 million.
Yeah.
So, I mean, depending on mileage and condition, I mean, it looked fucking clean.
Yeah. That's...
It's probably a couple million now.
Probably.
Yeah.
Part of where mine comes from, I knew about the car actually before I saw Top Gear, because Top Gear did one of their little early challenges with a gull wing. I just don't remember when it was. It was really early, like season 5 or 6 or something like that.
With a 300 SL?
They did something with one. I don't remember what it was. Let's see if we can find out. Because I know they did it.
James did something with it.
Yes, that's what it was. Here we go.
Oh.
If I can find... Yeah, season 5, episode 5. I think he just drove it. I think it was a normal review, technically, I guess. I don't think it was actually one of their full-on challenges or races.
No, it was just a review.
Yeah, but...
Hammond, I think, did it, though. No, it was May. It was May.
Yeah, so it was cool to get him. Oh yeah, that's where he was comparing it to like the Stratocaster. It was making the comparison that this is the Stratocaster of the car world. This is the definitive classic that started a lot of the supercar tropes that we have today.
Yeah.
Which,
also, speaking of old European and also supercars, Lamborghini Miura.
Yeah, that's a fantastic honorable mention. I actually would love the Lamborghini 350
GT.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the very first Lamborghini.
Yep.
That'd be a cool like bookend thing if you owned like that and like a Countach and an Aventador.
Yeah.
Or a Mercy. Like if you had just like one of each V12.
Yeah.
Like that'd be cool. Mm-hmm. And I think what I would like to do for my list, because this is totally something realistic, is have like a slot for, I would have some permanent slots, but then have like a couple of these 20 be rotations of like not the same car, but like either a competitor in that field or something else that could fill that same void. So like the say Carrera GT, have that be like my Cars and Coffee head turner.
Yeah,
and I would get like a Miura Carrera GT 300 SL. Ferrari F50 would be rad.
Oh yeah,
or an F40. Porsche 959 goes in there. I would try to keep things like pre-2000, I think. Like pre-2000 head turners, or Carrera GT is like an 05, so okay, 2005. Yeah. Maybe, of the period for GT.
Yeah.
Or a GT40.
That's actually one of the ones I was debating for my list. That I really,
GT40?
An early 2000s GT.
Okay.
Because that was one of my poster child. So the Zonda
God, did those fucking go up?
Well, it's so funny watching it because they flatlined forever. Forever, they were basically just the same price they were new for a long time.
They had a hard time selling them when they were new, and some people, there were the people that bought two.
Yep.
That would keep the plastic on one and drive the other.
Yep.
But they had a hard time of the ones that did get sold. They had a hard time selling them.
And so they really didn't drop in value, but they also didn't gain. For like probably about the first 10 years, they just kind of stayed at that 250 range.
They started to go up, and then like just around the pandemic, just pre-pandemic, they went up.
Went way up.
Yeah.
And those are pretty cool because we actually knew Chris that used to have one.
Yep.
And his was pretty clean, but I liked the fact that his had miles.
I rode in that car.
Yeah. I liked the fact that his had miles. Actually, that brings me into one of the points that I'd like to make about like my list, and I think that you'd probably agree as well. Like pretty much everything on my list, minus the Hunatron, I would like to apply what I would call a rule, which I'm going to call the 8 out of 10 rule.
I mean, we have 20 cars each, so like, how do you drive all these?
Well, that's a problem that if you're that fucky rich, could be solved by just not doing much else. But
and what I would like to do is employ a rotating calendar and have a lineup of close friends.
Yeah.
Be like, okay, so I'm going to meet up with 4 of my friends at my warehouse.
Yep.
And we're going to take 5 cars each.
Yeah.
And we're going to go for a drive.
No, agreed. So I'd like to do things like that. I also agree I'd like 5 of the slots to be rotating for various reasons, just to keep some things fresh. But with any of the cars, I'd like to also apply what I've kind of started calling the 8 out of 10 rule, which says, okay, I want all of these cars to be in really good condition. However, I don't want any of them to be concourse. Because if it's concourse grade or if it's at that level of quality, I won't want to drive it. So the 8 out of what I would call the 8 out of 10 rule does 2 things at the same time. It's mechanically perfect. It might have a couple small cosmetic flaws that clearly it's been used, but when I say a couple small ones, like nothing major, a couple rock chips, like a little bit of normal wear and tear.
Yeah.
And on top of that, generally, with pretty much any of this list, especially the special cars, that'll save you probably 40% in value. So like that would make acquiring these a lot easier.
Yeah.
So you're finding a
What I would like to do, for me personally, I am more the kind of person of like drive the car at all costs.
Yep.
However, I think for something like the heavy hitter rotation that I have for, cars and coffee kind of thing, I wouldn't want to. I mean, I think it would be unrealistic to expect it to be of Concours quality and also drive it, but I would do my fucking damnedest to be as close to Concours quality as I can while taking it out once a month for cars and coffee.
And part of my reason for saying 8 out of 10 and not 9 out of 10 is because being in the detailing world, getting a car to the 8 out of 10 mark is relatively easy. Getting it from 8 to 9 and then 9 to 10 takes 10 times the amount of effort and time. That's kind of the threshold, is getting a car to like 80% normal show level and keeping it that way, physically maintaining it well, filling rock chips, all those little things. That's all in that 8 out of 10. So it would look to a normal person to be 10 out of 10. But to a collector, it'd be an 8 out of 10. So it would save you from the huge margins or the worry about a lot of things. Like, for instance, having let's say an Eagle Speedster that has 20,000 miles on it. A collector's not going to want
those don't exist. An Eagle Speedster with 20K? That doesn't exist.
I know it doesn't necessarily exist. It's kind of just a random example.
That
would
be the one that you'd want to buy to drive the value out of. You would. That's something that you would buy new, or maybe that has like 5 to maybe 10.
Yeah,
and then just drive it.
That's my point.
It would be nice because that's not actually an old E-Type. It is something that is newer, and you can just drive and not worry about. Keep it as nice as possible.
Yeah. And that's my point, is that finding one of those with higher mileage that has just been driven but cared for, not beat, and that you end up saving the value. You're not worried about tanking it. You're driving the rest of the value out of it, and you would drive it to intend to keep it or anything like that. You're not you don't have an anxiety as much when you go to take it out, like, oh shit, if this gets a rock chip, there goes $100,000 of its value, because that's already done.
I actually want to replace my V10 R8 Spider.
Oh. Okay.
Replace that with an F355 with a stick. I think that would be, because I was just thinking, like, I am missing some Ferrari here, and a gated Ferrari target top with arguably the best sounding V8 Ferrari ever made. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen him in person again, but I have heard plenty of videos.
I saw one drive by through East Canyon once. It sounded fucking delightful.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I don't doubt it. Hearing it through my computer speakers, I can only imagine.
It was through one of the hairpins, too. I was like, it was just best case scenario for a flyby. Like, oh, God, I want that.
Right.
I think we both have some pretty comprehensive lists, because I really do get to scratch a bunch of different areas of the itch for my Porsche love. But there's also like some really like crazy lightweight stuff, like both of the Lotuses or the Loti. We also have a big body Audi that I have experience. I have firsthand experience with, and I know that I do love that car.
For what it is, it's great.
Not even for what it is. It's a great, bar none. LFA looks and sounds great. There's some quirky shit in there though. Like there's the Weissman.
Oh yeah.
There's a sleeper, in the J Series Gildred Mini of like, it just looks like a little cute little red Mini, and then it tells a McLaren 675 LT to go fuck itself.
We both have a sleeper, because then I have the Crown Vic. Like, very different type of sleeper, but
it is
sleeper nonetheless.
Yeah, the Mini would walk it from a light, but
no doubt.
But that Mini also tops out at like $140.
Yeah.
But it'll do it in like fucking 9-10 seconds.
It tops out with probably gearing only, I'd imagine.
It is, yeah. Fuck. I mean, I'm looking at your NA1 NSX.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about what I could replace in my lineup with it.
Gotcha.
I do like having the dichotomy of the two rally cars.
Yeah.
So those got to stay. The 964 Carrera 4 has to stay because of where I came from.
Yep.
A daily driver sports car is kind of where the 992 Turbo lives, but like I feel like that would get really old.
Kind of, yeah.
So maybe that could replace that Porsche, or maybe I could replace that with like, I don't know, maybe like a 981 GTS, I think.
Yeah.
A 981 Cayman GTS would be a nice replacement for that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we both have like some pretty solid lists. If there's, actually, let's replace 992 Turbo S with Michael's backdate Porsche. Michael's backdate Porsche with the G50 would be fucking epic.
That would be sweet.
Yeah.
No, I think both of our lists did both a good job of having a couple surprises for each of us, but also
I did like that we had some bleed over, though, like ERA Turbo
GT350
and GT350.
I think that was the only real bleed over.
Yeah.
But I think everything else, like, both typified us pretty good and also brought out some new stuff, like the couple military vehicles in mine, just because they're such useful tools. And they could be useful tools even for carrying the collection around. Like, imagine, for instance, with that Hemet, with the flatbed and lift arm and stuff, rolling up with, like, the Corvair on the back.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to play a game with you once, and you did not fucking have it, of rolling around with, like, a 6-car trailer.
Yeah.
And, like, going around the country, road tripping. It would be fun, though, if, like, one of us won the lottery and, like, bought a truck.
Yeah.
And, like, bought, like, vehicles. I would love to have you just, like I would win the lottery. You drive the vehicles around. Because I know you'd also get a kick out of it, too.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I'd drive, like, an RS6 Avant behind you or something.
Yeah.
And, like, we go and, like, take some cars out to, like, tracks in the area of wherever we're at. Or, like, scenic byways. Or, like, things like that. Like, imagine, road tripping to, like, Tail of the Dragon or something.
Oh, yeah.
And not just hitting Tail of the Dragon, but all the other fucking epic roads in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Or going down to, like, Road America.
Yeah.
And also, like, Sebring and, like, that kind of stuff. And doing, like, track days. I think that'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah. No, for sure. Well, cool. I think this is a pretty random, comprehensive weighted podcast.
How long have we been going for?
Hour 10.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, thanks all for listening, and if you have a 20-car list or whatever kind of size list, let us know. Is there anything that we've driven and that we've gushed about and that we're missing? Let us know. I didn't have the NA2 NSX in here.
I know.
Fuck. Actually, wait a minute.
Oh, great. You're going to be a last-minute adjustment.
Yeah. Let's honestly replace the Lotus Elise with the NA2 NSX. I think that's the one.
I think that's fair. Because I think I'd be fine in saying this. I think not only is the NA2 NSX more usable on a lot of occasions.
Oh, totally is, yeah.
I don't think you're also giving that much trading them. Because no, the NA2 NSX isn't lightweight like the Lotus is, but it is compared to a lot of other things.
Well, there's a sensory overload that comes with the Elise, which is something that I'd be looking for, but the Lotus 7 does that more.
Yes. The Lotus 7 accomplishes that more, and the NA2 also isn't completely devoid of that either.
No, it's not.
There's still a good amount of sensory, and I think it's the...
It depends what you're used to, though. If you're used to stuff that's like,
yeah.
Audis or, just like normal-ass cars,
oh, yeah.
then the NA2 NSX is like, holy shit, I'm getting a lot here. But if you're used to driving a smaller hot hatch, or if you have like a lot of track time in other cars, or if you're used to, having cars with stiff suspension more often or more road noise, then like it might seem a little ironed out.
Well, and remember, we mentioned several times in the review all the times that I would find reviews talking about how boring the car is, which is what
I had someone tell me firsthand that NSXs were boring. I was like, fucking really? Are you sure?
And I think that's entirely down to a combination of what you did with it, like road pairing or whatever like that.
Well, he had it on autocross, and he found it boring and like not very good at handling.
I could see that.
Maybe.
But I also see that out of the good experiences me and you both had, primarily with the NSXs we drove, like namely the NA1 that I drove and the NA2 that you drove on film, we both had really perfect, quote-unquote, experiences with the NSX and how it drove and how it did with us.
You had a basically empty Nebo loop.
Yeah.
Which is like, you can fall in love with basically anything there.
And because of those, like, we got to experience those cars more or less at their perfection, which I think if after going through all the stuff we did with research with NSXs, wasn't necessarily shooting for the best, as we know, it's not shooting for the best 0 to 60. It's not shooting for necessarily the best, like, road holding numbers. It was shooting for lightweight, easily drivable, and, like, the best balance of you and car.
Yeah.
And that's not going to feel as sensory as a Lotus, where they're shooting for lightness.
Yeah, and I have an idea for a road trip, not for a film, but for a road trip that I kind of want to approach Michael about for his black NSX.
Yeah.
Because imagine driving that up to, like, Jackson Hole.
That would be sweet.
Dude. And take the scenic route to Jackson Hole.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are some other, like, byways that, like, go along lakes and mountains and shit where it's like, oh, my God.
Oh, my God. And that car, even, I've mentioned it a couple times in the podcast and in the video, like, I could still see that as a good daily. I legitimately could.
Yeah.
Because it does have the room. There are people that have done it that, with proper precautions like snow tires, you can have a very good experience as a daily with that car. It weighs just enough to not be completely squirrely in bad weather.
Oh, yeah.
It's, again, balances all around. It takes the whole, like, Japanese approach to, like, balance and with Kung Fu and whatnot, and really applies it to a car.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
thank you all for holding on and for listening, and we will see you all next time. Weekly content starting April 5th.
Yeah, coming
the
soon.
5th?
Yeah, the 5th, yep.
It's the 5th because
Wednesday.
your car comes out on the 5th. My car comes out on the 12th. I just got the article for that basically done.
Yep.
I want to have articles accompany our videos. Talk about things that we might not have touched on camera.
Yep.
And all this other stuff. I have watch reviews that are coming out. I actually have one coming out fucking tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, Omega Speedmaster 861. Do it up. Exhibitionofspeed.com. We also have merch. I'm actually looking at a table right now full of shirts and hats. We have stickers. I'm currently wearing our hoodie.
Yep.
It's very comfortable.
I actually wore our shirt yesterday. Very comfortable as
I'm
well.
actually wearing my shirt under the hoodie. So.
Oh, wow. You're just merchceptioning.
Well, we're doing a shoot today, so
I know,
it's
exactly.
what you do. But
Yep.
exhibitionofspeed.com is the place for all of that. And we'll see you next time.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.